You ever feel caught between two places, between two cultures, two different ideas, or even two different versions of yourself? We all spend our lives building these little bridges, trying to connect all the different worlds we live in. So today, we're going to dig into what that really means, from the deeply personal to the truly historic. Okay, let's get into it. And this quote from a 14-year-old, wow, it just nails that feeling, doesn't it? That's our starting point. It's that deep, unsettling confusion when the ground just kind of shifts under your feet, and suddenly the question, where do I belong, has no easy answer. It's that feeling of being lost in the in-between. So for our first section, we're diving right into this in-between space. It's that zone where what's familiar starts to fade, and your own identity feels like it's totally up for grabs. Think about that question, where are you from? Most of us have been asked that. But for anyone with a mixed background, it can feel like a total trap. It's like you're supposed to have one simple, neat answer. And when you don't, you can feel that unspoken judgment that maybe your story isn't quite as valid. You're not really from here, but you're not totally from there either. And this slide just makes that feeling so real. This is Ming's story. She's 12, moves from Shanghai to Florida. And she didn't just leave a city, she left everything. Culture shock isn't some abstract idea, right? It's the taste of a greasy hamburger when all you want in the world is a soup dumpling. It's that feeling of walking into a new school and being completely invisible in a crowded hallway. That disorientation it can be completely overwhelming. So the big question is, how do you get out of that maze? How do you go from feeling totally lost to actually finding a path forward? And that leads us perfectly into our second section, all about the hard work of actually building those bridges, of forging a new sense of what home even means. For Ming, everything changed in a flash. She's lost in that hallway, totally terrified, and she whispers a question to another girl, who then replies in Chinese, Ni hao ma. And in that one instant, that terrifying alien place becomes a place of hope. Just one shared language, one new friend, and suddenly, Ming's story isn't about loss anymore. It's about a brand new adventure. This whole experience, it's timeless. Let's rewind the clock about 150 years to a guy named Hong Yan Chang. As a teenager in 1872, he was sent from China to America to learn about Western tech. I mean, can you imagine seeing things like radiators, running water, or what he called fire cars, trains, for the very first time? He was doing the exact same thing Ming was, just in a different century. And when you put their stories side by side like this, the connection is it's so clear. You've got Ming trying to figure out a modern American school, and Hong Yan Chang adapting to Western clothes 150 years ago. It's the same core challenge. They're both just trying to find some connection, some understanding, in a place that's completely new to them. One's a personal journey, the other's a national mission, but the human struggle is absolutely universal. So we've seen this on a personal level, but what happens when you scale that up? I mean, way up. What happens when it's not just one person in a labyrinth, but an entire country caught between its past and its future? And that's exactly what we're looking at in our third section. We're zooming in on China in the early 20th century, a nation at this massive crossroads, trying to build a bridge between two completely different versions of itself. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. 2,000 years of imperial tradition, of dynasties and emperors just gone, practically overnight. The entire way society worked, the whole mandate of heaven was thrown out the window, leaving this huge, uncertain gap between the old world and whatever was coming next. And standing right in the middle of all of it was one man, Yuan Shikai. Now, he was a product of the old system, a top general for the Qing dynasty, but he also held all the cards for the new one. He had the only modern army that really mattered. So he brokers a deal, gets the last emperor, who was just a little kid, to abdicate, and in doing so, he becomes the human bridge. And not surprisingly, the first president of the new republic. So Yuan Shikai was the political bridge, sure, but the intellectual bridges were being built in classrooms and magazines all over the country. And you can literally see this debate happening. You look at something like the University of Nanking magazine, and one article is all about ancient Taoist mysticism, looking inward. Then you flip the page, and there's an analysis of how modern Japan grew so strong, looking outward. The entire nation was trying to decide what to keep from its past and what to borrow for its future. These magazines themselves were basically artifacts of that bridge building. They were the physical places where Western ideas and Chinese ideas could meet, argue, and sometimes merge.
They were, in a very real way, paper bridges connecting China's history to all of its possible futures.
Okay, so we've spanned cultures, we've jumped across centuries. But this whole idea of bridging worlds isn't just for newcomers or historical figures. It's something that's fundamental to every single one of us, right here and right now.
So, for our last section, let's bring it all home. Let's talk about the essential bridges we all need to build to just live more connected, fuller lives.
First up, there's the bridge back to the natural world. In our super clean, sanitized modern lives, we've created this huge disconnect between us and, well, the dirt, the microbes, the very stuff of life we evolved with. And as Tom Hartman points out, getting reconnected, letting kids play in the mud, isn't just cute. It's about rebuilding a biological bridge that our bodies are literally crying out for.
And then there are the bridges we have to build between each other. In a world that can feel so divided, this idea of collective liberation is so powerful. It's just the simple idea that we're all in this together. It's about building bridges of solidarity, of having each other's backs, especially across different communities. That might just be the most important bridge there is. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Every connection is a bridge. It doesn't matter if it's a little girl finding a new friend, a whole nation figuring out its future, or just you reconnecting with nature or your neighbor. Every single act of connection is you building a bridge across some kind of divide.
Because ultimately, your life is a bridge. You're the bridge connecting the person you used to be to the person you're becoming. You connect your ideas to other people's. You connect your own little world to the much bigger one out there. So the question I want to leave you with is a simple one. What worlds are you connecting right now?